DRYTRON and Virtual World, are they overrated?
Guess we're gonna find out.
Today we're going to talk about the LCS results and what we think our predictions are going forward in the format and some other different things. So let's dive into it.
House of Cards.
TCG.
So this tournament was a little bit different, right? It was a 3v3, which is really cool. It's not like any tournament that I've seen recently. And the top team, I guess let's go ahead and talk about it. The top team won Dragon Link, and then...
Yeah, so the top team of the finals, Dragon Link and the two eldlich variants.
Eldlich.
So the winner comes out from Dragon Link players that came out of nowhere because everybody thought after the ban list with Link Cross and Buster Whelp that Dragon Link was done.
They're not. Everyone was sleeping on Dragon Link.
Everybody was
except
sleeping.
us, right?
Exactly. I mean, I'm still a big Dragon Link player. It's my favorite deck. But the variant that they played with the Chaos Ruler was just absolutely insane. They included Dragon Maid cards, and I know I still got to dive into that format and that view of the deck because I don't play that version on my own. But that was still cool to see. Not only Dragon Link, but everybody slept on Eldlich and said that it was overrated.
Yeah, I heard that a lot. That it wasn't
lot.
fast enough to keep up with DRYTRON and
Right.
Virtual World, but actually with those traps and all the different hand traps they were also able to play, it was kind of like they had perfect counters for them.
So not only did they control DRYTRON, they also controlled Virtual World. So let's talk about this real quick. Let's get into this. So in the tournament, there was a total of 387 players. There was 99 Virtual World and 84 DRYTRON. So almost half of the entries were DRYTRON and Virtual World.
Yeah, and that's kind of indicative of what we've been seeing on a local level too. A lot of DRYTRON, not as many Virtual World,
Right.
but I think a lot of the DRYTRON players used to be Virtual World players, and they're just kind of testing both decks.
And it's really crazy to see because everybody thought that Virtual World and DRYTRON were going to top. I mean, everybody was convinced that it was going to be Virtual World, DRYTRON in the finals, hands down. That's what you're going to see. And it wasn't. So it was actually really cool to see this new archetype come out, which is DRYTRON, and the already dominating Virtual World, and players play through it. So, you see the Eldlich players, they how they control Virtual World, and even played through Calamities, played through Herald. I mean, they beat over those cards.
Yeah, they don't really necessarily even care that much about Calamities when they have so many really powerful traps. The monster effects, it's fine. They're able to still utilize their traps and play the game, which a lot of other decks can't do.
I thought it was really cool too watching some of the rematches, and it was really cool because what the players did to stop DRYTRON was banishing Benton or banishing Eva, and it stopped you. Because think about it, if I Wakero your Eva, then you
can't recycle those resources.
You can't recycle. Or a lot of times what I saw done was when they would make the Eva play, they would actually banish the Benton and Grave so that Eva couldn't resolve. And it made it kind of null and void in a way. I mean, it's just, you just discarded Eva for no reason. So it was really cool to watch that. It was really cool to see how everybody kind of controlled DRYTRON and controlled Virtual World. It was really a learning lesson overall in the YC or the LCS. So let's talk about the top 16. So out of that, we go back 16 Virtual World, 11 DRYTRON, 4 Dragon Link made it to the top 16. That's out of 48 players.
Wow.
And then you have the 3 Zoodiac variants, 3 Adamanticators.
Huh.
Adamanticators coming out of nowhere.
That's probably that new Adamanticator build with the prank kids. So that one's pretty crazy.
So the one that made it to the finals was actually pure Adamanticator.
Wow.
So is Adamanticator a top meta deck?
It can be. I mean, it's unexpected, so people aren't siding for it. So that gives you an advantage right there.
Yep. And the other thing, we have a couple Dogmatica Invoked, 3 Dogmatica Shadal, 1 Burning Abyss, and here is something I think is insane. 1 Dino made it to the top 16 out of 48.
Wow, who would have thought just a month or two ago that Dino would see such little representation?
Yeah.
Dino was dominating.
Everybody thought when the ban list came out, when Mist didn't get hit, that Dino was just going to run everything. And now, I mean, are dinos extinct? I mean...
Sure seems like it.
I mean, out of 48 players, you're talking about there was only 1 representation of Dino.
Yeah, I mean that's hard to believe. I guess Dino just has a really tough matchup against DRYTRON and Virtual World, so it's just not. Its power crept out, I think.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy to see how they played against the trap decks and hand trap decks, even with Misk that stops them. But they proved that there's ways to get over Misk. Another point I want to hit. So this tournament, it was actually different style. In the finals, there was no time restriction.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes.
That changes the game.
Yes. Well, for the finals, so a lot of the matches in the finals went an hour and a half long. So
wow.
Is that something?
A lot of really grindy games. I like to see that because a lot of the times when you're playing with Virtual World or DRYTRON, you set your Vanities ruler and it's just game they just can't play.
Speaking of Vanities ruler, no Vanity rulers build in the top 8.
Wow.
Out of all the DRYTRONs I made it, no Vanity ruler builds.
I wonder why that is. I think people main decking droplets is just kind of scaring away the Vanities ruler because if that's your only setup is a Vanities ruler, you're kind of in trouble if they have a way to get over it.
Yeah. So I thought it was kind of cool to see that format where DRYTRON players weren't playing Vanity, and there were Vanity players, but the ones that made it to the top 8 didn't play Vanity. Dino being one representation in the top 16. No time limit in the finals, which was fun to watch the grind. And then another point, this is going to be the biggest thing. Is Dragoon overrated?
Oh.
None of the variants. I mean, you got the Eldlich Dragoon builds, but even the Dragon Link players, the Eldlich players, Dragoon just was missing from this LCS.
That's interesting. I think when you're playing Eldlich, I think you kind of have to play Dragoon to give yourself extra firepower and kind of a win condition. But otherwise, I mean, a lot of the decks just don't need it. It feels like an overkill.
So the big boss monster that took Dragoon's light, I guess you would say, is the Eldritch builds that won were Zoodiac. And Zeus is being called the MVP of the LCS. Nobody could deal with Zeus. Zeus was like the MVP.
Especially a Zeus with 6 materials or some of these
6
crazy,
material and a lot of decks playing 3 Zeus and just keep overlaying Zeus. So you out my one Zeus, I got another one behind it, and then they just kept controlling with Zeus. And then with the Eldritch players, if you send with Zeus, guess what you get? More material, because your material are in the grave and you keep recycling. And it was just crazy. So our Zeus, is it gonna go through the ceiling after this LCS? More people are going to want it. They're going to want to run it at 3. And that poses a question, what to expect from the ban list in March. Are they going to come after Zeus? Is Misk now not even a top priority? Is DRYTRON just going to be unscathed? Ben 10 going to be fine? Because why would you hit DRYTRON if it didn't even dominate?
Yeah, I mean, you got to think that DRYTRON might, DRYTRON players should be more excited now that they may not see that Ben 10 hit or that Vanities ruler hit that they were expecting, because although the deck did have good representation, it just couldn't perform on the top level.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see how the format shifts. We're already in a control style format versus combo, and then to see the control style with some combo being played. But now, people were main decking Droll and Lockbird. It really didn't do very well in the LCS. Yeah, it hit DRYTRON, but there were so many other outs to DRYTRON that people played that, I don't see people main decking Droll anymore. I think that it's kind of fallen off. I don't even know if is it a top 5 hand trap anymore compared to Ghost Bells, Skullmeister, which crushed it, Ash, no imperms whatsoever that you even saw of, so that's off the table. And then, you had your Nibiru and your Ally Cycle Reader, so.
Yeah, I feel like Droll, with these results, there may be an uptick in Eldlich players, Zoo players, and if you're main decking Droll, it's just a completely dead card in such matchups.
Now, we're not saying that you shouldn't side Droll, but a lot of people switched into main decking Droll, and I think that you're going to see a lot of people pulling Droll from the main deck list. Now, the other interesting thing that I saw a lot with DRYTRON players was the play on Ally, the Cycle Reader, chained by Ghost Bell. So Ghost Bell then stops Ally, so I saw DRYTRON players main decking Ghost Bell for the Cycle Reader. And
or at least side decking it, because a lot of people aren't going to main deck the Cycle Reader, but they're probably going to side it in if they have it there, so it's a really good counter to that.
Yeah. So overall, I mean, this LCS was fun to watch. It was good as a player to just really learn and to kind of perfect your craft. So we're gonna look into this Dragon Link build. We're gonna look into the Zoodiac Eldlich build. They're the top decks, and kind of see where the format goes. And we're gonna do some different videos on that. But overall, I think we hit our points. Let me just double check real quick.
Yeah, well, let's say, is Virtual World and DRYTRON overrated, or did they just underperform? Because it's just one tournament, you know, maybe they just got outmatched the one time. Do you think they're going to continue to thrive in the format?
So my personal opinion of DRYTRON, I think I got the deck when it first came out. There's no creativity with DRYTRON. So I'm interested to see if now people are going to get more creative with DRYTRON to really do different variants to help with that build. It had a high representation, and to not even see it in the finals is just mind-blowing. Not even one player. Is it too new? Do people not understand it quite enough? So, what's your thoughts on DRYTRON Virtual World?
Yeah, I think people are gonna see these results and maybe see what they can do in terms of the main and side deck to counter the eldlich. Like, what cards can you improve in the deck so that you can overtake the eldlich matchup, or at least side deck, because maybe a lot of these deck lists weren't prepared to see so many zoo eldlich.
Yeah, I mean, to have 2 zoo eldlich win in the finals.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not just talking about making it, like the Zoo Eldlich win in the finals, and then that team won, but their other teammate lost to Adamancipator. That was Dragon Link versus Adamancipator. So to see the top 3 final cut, but single decks win, Zoo Eldlich, Adamancipator.
Yeah, and I think it boils down to people were preparing so hard for these DRYTRON matchups that they weren't prepared for the eldlich, and eldlich kind of hit them by surprise and overtook them.
And that's a good point, because there was such a high representation.
There's so much hype too around DRYTRON, it feels like.
So maybe that's why they didn't make it so far, because they were over-prepared for DRYTRON. So it'd be interesting to see if DRYTRON can come back in the next tournament and really reclaim the throne, or at least try to take the throne in Virtual World, dropping from what was supposed to be the king of the throne. Now,
Right.
Are we calling Zoo Eldlich the king of the throne?
It feels like it at the moment. I mean, I think they deserve it.
So Zeus, ultimate boss monster right now.
Zeus is tough. Yeah.
Zeus is a tough one. All right, guys, that's been our LCS recap. It was fun to watch, and we appreciate you. Make sure to like and subscribe. Keep putting these videos out, and we're going to catch you on the next video.
House of Cards TCG.
Signing out.
House of Cards.